Good evening. Welcome. Welcome back for any of you who joined me this morning. This is Friday. So this morning we had yin, which was quite nice. So tonight's class is 60-minute, level 1 to 2. Not super challenging. It is a bit of a flow. We will be moving, but we're not doing any super technical postures or anything like that. Just trying to open up the body and get things moving a little bit. You shouldn't really need any props for tonight particularly, except for, again, as usual, if you like to have stuff around you for any particular postures that you know you need some help in, especially for like seated postures, if we're folding forwards, if you know that you need to have something underneath your hips as a little bit of assistance to get you forwards, then make sure you've got that. Yeah, I think that's it. You can start to get your music queued up if you're going to practice with music. I think next week, speaking of music, next week at some point I am going to do a class with music, I think. However, I'm going to see how it works. I'll probably come on a few minutes early or test like the class before or something and see what the sound quality is like. I'll ask for a little bit of feedback for sound quality because obviously I use a microphone, so my voice comes through pretty clearly no matter what distance I am away from the phone. So with music, it would be played from a speaker. And I would hook it up to my laptop and stuff. So I'll have to test out that sound quality and see if it's good enough. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Okay, let's get started. Head on over to your mat and find yourself in child's pose. So knees to the mat, big toes touch behind you, hips back towards the heels, and the forehead towards the mat in front of you. Just adjusting here for your first few moments. So you might need to adjust the width of your knees. They can be wide, they can be close together. You might have to change the shape of the arms so they can stretch out in front of you like mine are. Or you can bend your elbows maybe, or maybe even take the arms all the way back by your sides. You can test each of those out and just see which ones feels best. Your hips might not reach all the way back to your heels. They might be lifted up a little bit. That's absolutely fine. Whatever the hips are going to let the body fall into. Once your body has settled, and just start your focus settling on your breath. Just beginning with a consistency in your breathing. Not worrying too much about getting long, super deep breaths just yet. Just find consistency first. And then you're just going to take another 5 breaths here. And on these final 5 breaths in child's pose, then start to gain a bit more length on the inhales, a bit more opening. And some power on the exhales, creating closing in the body, contracting the belly, and slightly closing the back of your throat. And when your 5 breaths are completed, when you feel settled, use an inhale and bring your body up into tabletop position, bringing the hands just under your shoulders, knees just under your hips. Fingers are spreading wide. Knuckles of your index fingers are grounding into the mat. You don't want the knuckles to lift. Once the knuckles lift up, then you know that you've kind of collapsed your weight into your wrist. You want the knuckles pressing down to support your wrist. Take a deep breath here. Inhale into cow tilt. Drop your belly, lift your chest, gaze comes up. Exhale, cat's tilt, round your spine. Engage the belly as you move up. Inhale, back to cow. Belly drops, your shoulder blades are rolling back, chest is opening. Exhale, push through the arms, spread the shoulder blades above you. 3 more. Inhale's lifting the chest, your pelvis is tipping up behind you. And then exhale, your pelvis tucks under. 2 more. Just following your breath. And then coming back to neutral on the inhale, gazing down between the hands. Preparing your first downward facing dog. Tuck your toes under, lift the knees and the hips, reach the chest back towards your toes. Take maybe 5 breaths here. Knees can be bent. If straightening the legs causes the lower back to round, then just bend the knees a little bit. Make sure the pelvis is reaching back, lower back is flattening out. 1 more breath here in stillness. Then inhale, come forwards into plank. Shift your shoulders forwards over your wrists. What you're doing here is you're just checking out the distance between the hands and feet. You want the shoulders right underneath your wrists and the heels kicking back with the hips in line with the rest of the body. If the hips aren't in line with the body, like if they're really high, then just lengthen the stance a bit. Back to down dog. On an exhale, reach back through the chest. Again, maybe bending the knees. Same thing. Inhale, forwards, plank. Now making sure that your pelvis is tucked under here. So your pelvis hasn't tipped up or collapsed to the mat. Pelvis is tucked under just a little bit. Belly is strong. Lower back is supported. Back down dog. Exhale. Once more. Inhale, forwards. Chest is reaching forwards. Knuckles are grounded. Belly is lifted. Downward face. Exhale. Then bend the knees a little bit if they're not already. Look forwards between the hands, take small steps, walking the feet all the way up to the top of your mat. Let your feet stay separated a couple inches to start here. Knees are bent and the upper body relaxes. If it feels good, grab your elbows. Otherwise, you can just leave the arms hanging. And then maybe some movement. You can stay in stillness if this is nice. Otherwise, the head shakes a little bit no. And then a little bit yes. And then come back to stillness. Release the arms if they're bound. Keep your knees bent and roll up 1 vertebrae at a time. Your head will be the very last thing to lift. Bringing your feet towards one another. Big toes might touch, they might not. Arms reaching down by your sides. Take a deep breath. Inhale, arms reach up, look up. Exhale, arms down by your sides. Nothing crazy here, just moving with your breath. Same again. Inhale, reach up. Fingers reaching towards the ceiling. Your lower ribs are staying into the body. Exhale, arms down. Once more. Inhale. This time fold. Exhale, hinge at the hips. Hands coming towards the mat. Knees might bend a little bit again. Inhale, flat back, lift your chest. Most of you, your hands are going to come off of the mat for this. Just push into your shins if that's the case. And then fold. Exhale. Same again. Inhale, flat back. Doesn't matter what angle your back is at here. What matters is that you're taking this rounding out of your spine. You want the back to be flat. So if you can do that from the mat, great. If you need to come a little bit higher, just do so as well. It doesn't matter. Go ahead, fold. Exhale. Once more. Inhale, lift the chest, lengthen. Back to plank. Exhale, plant the palms. Walk your feet to the back of the mat. And then set the knees down. So this is your modified plank. Nothing has really changed here. Your pelvis is still tucking under. The belly is still really strong. Coming into your first chaturanga. Now, as you lower here in a moment, just like in your halfway lift a second ago, it doesn't matter how far down you get. What matters is that your hips don't collapse to the mat. That doesn't change. Your belly stays strong. So exhale, start to bend the elbows. Elbows are moving back the way. Now you might only get a couple inches down. Some of you might make it to a 90-degree angle in the elbows. When you've had enough, release all the way down onto your belly. So you do want to be able to show control in chaturanga and hover the body off of the mat. We'll touch on that again later. Once you're down, press the tops of your feet into the mat. Squeeze the shoulder blades together behind you, cobra pose. Inhale, halfway lift up. So just halfway up off of the mat here, making sure that your back muscles are doing the work here and they're pulling you up rather than pushing too much with the arms. And then release, drop back down. If that felt good, your hands might slide back another inch. Same thing with the legs, push through the tops of the feet. Inhale, halfway lift up through the chest. Think about your elbows reaching back, they're pulling back towards your heels. And then release, drop back down. One more time. Really strong legs, push through the feet, inhale, halfway lift up. This time, maybe your palms float off of the mat while the feet stay down behind you. And then release all the way down. Tuck your toes under. On the knees or the toes, come into plank. Inhale, push up. Downward facing dog, exhale. Couple deep breaths here. Again, knees might bend. The hips are reaching back. The knuckles are pressing down. On your next inhale, look forwards. Step or jump the feet between the hands. Lift the chest halfway up, flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, coming to standing with a flat back this time. Lift your chest, then continue all the way up. Lift the arms, lift your gaze. Exhale, arms by your sides. Surya Namaskara, A, Sun Salutation A. Deep breaths through the nose. Inhale, arms reach up, look up. Exhale, fold, hinging at the hips. Inhale, flat back, lift your chest. Back to plank. Exhale, plant the palms. Step or jump the feet to the back of the mat. First option, knees are down. If you found that first lowering challenging, then just set the knees to the mat. Second option, you can keep the knees lifted if you would like. Chaturanga. Exhale, bend the elbows. Again, show control through the center of your body. Inhale, first option is cobra. So your hips are down, chest is halfway lifted. Second option is upward facing dog with straight arms. If you're choosing up dog at any point, tops of the feet are pushing down so that your knees and thighs can float. That engagement of the legs is just there to support your lower back again. If that's not available, cobra is plenty. Down dog. When you're ready, either push down through the knees or you can push through the tops of the feet and roll over your toes. Again, just a couple deep breaths. So there's options throughout the practice. Your first options are a little bit easier. Your second and sometimes third options are a little bit harder. So you're just choosing whichever ones work best for you. Take one more breath. Next, inhale, look forwards. Step or jump the feet between the hands. Lift the chest halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift your chest. Exhale, plant the palms. Lunge your left foot to the back of your mat. From here, first option, if you need a little support, you can drop your back knee. Otherwise, just keep it lifted. Now, you're coming into a twist. Left hand stays down. Your right foot is forwards and you want your right heel grounded just underneath your right knee. If it's not, if that foot is quite far back and lifted, just pull it forwards a bit. And then twist. Right arm turns up to the ceiling. So your chest is turning towards your right knee, that knee that's out in front of you here. Take just 2 more breaths. Reach a little stronger through the back heel and a little higher through the top shoulder. Downward facing dog. Exhale, right hand to the mat, right foot steps back. Take a second and focus on your hands. Spread the fingers and press into the knuckles. Then reach back through the chest. Keep that reach in your chest. 3-legged downward facing dog. Right leg lifts up. So the foot that was just forwards, that's the leg that's lifted here. Take 1 or 2 more breaths, reaching a little further through the floating leg. Then coming into crescent lunge, look forwards between the hands. Inhale, right foot steps forwards again. So it's the same foot between the hands. Both arms lifting up to the ceiling. Push into the front leg, kick through the back heel, chest comes up, arms eventually overhead. Into a few deep breaths. Front knee just on top of the ankle, just like you were in that twist. The heel doesn't want to be lifted. The heel isn't behind your knee. Right on top. Take 1 more breath. Coming into a fold. Exhale, hands down, left foot comes up to meet the right. Inhale, flat back, lift your chest. Other side. Exhale, plant the palms. Right leg lunges back this time. Right foot is behind you. Your right hand is going to ground. Again, adjust this front foot if you need to. Left arm reaches up to the ceiling. So you're creating distance here in this posture. Distance between your front knee and your back heel. They're pulling the hips apart. Distance between the hips and the chest, reaching forwards, lengthening your spine. Distance between the right hand through the chest up to your left hand, opening the chest. Take one more. Downward facing dog. Exhale, left hand down, left foot steps back. Deep breath. Again, find the balance in your upper body. Keep the balance, three-legged dog. Left leg lifts up. Keep pressing through the right arm. Most of your weight will shift into your left hand here, so keep pushing through the right, making sure you're balancing as much as you can in the upper body. Then coming into your lunge. When you're ready, look forwards, left foot between the hands. Take your time, find your balance, press through the front leg, lift your chest, then lift the arms. Now your front knee, as much as it's right on top of the ankle, it's also a little bit out over your pinky toe. You don't want it collapsing in. Send it out a little bit. Your glute is switched on so that your hip joint is supported. One more breath. Fold, exhale, hands down, right foot comes up to meet the left. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. Vinyasa. Exhale, plant the palms, step or jump the feet back. First option, knees are down. Second option, knees are lifted. Chaturanga. Exhale, bend the elbows. Again, only as far as you can. Inhale, cobra or upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. When you're ready, exhale, lift the belly and push the hips back. Coming into warrior one. Spin your left heel in to 45 degrees. So the left heel spins in a little bit behind you. Then the right foot steps forwards between your hands. Both arms lifting up overhead. Feet first. Outer edge of your back foot presses into the mat. You're not collapsing into your inner arch. You're pressing back into the outer edge of the foot. Quad is active, and then that hip is turning forwards. You're working to get your hip bones to face the front edge of your mat. They might not get all the way there, but that's where they're headed. Take another deep breath or two. One more. Keep pushing back as it comes forwards. And then keep the legs. Take the hands behind you. Interlace your fingers. Humble warrior. Inhale, reach back through the knuckles. Lift your chest up so your shoulders are pulling back here. Fold. Exhale, hinge at the hips. As you're folding forwards, you're leading with your chest. You're not collapsing your shoulders. Keep them pinned back. Fold as far as you can. Once you can't get any further, then the knuckles start to lift up, getting more and more opening in your chest. Take another 2 deep breaths. Now your hips are still turning here. So that back hip is still rolling forwards a little bit as you press into the back foot. One more. Back up to the top. Inhale, lift up through the knuckles, then release the blind arms up overhead. Exhale, hands onto your hips. Straighten your front leg. Warrior 2 legs. Turn your hips to face the left side of your mat. Now you might need to do a few things with your legs here. First thing you can think about is your back toes. In Warrior 1, your toes are facing forwards at a slight angle. In Warrior 2, they're probably going to turn straight out over your left side of the mat. Front toes are still facing forwards. However, the front foot might need to heel toe in a little bit so your feet are kind of more balanced on a straight line. Bend your front knee once again. Front knee just on top of the ankle, and again out over your pinky toe, not collapsing in over the big toe. Drive out. From here, arms reach forwards and back. Take a deep breath. Then inhale, arms reach up, look up. Exhale, fold. So you're folding over the left side of your mat now. So your chest is moving over the left side of your mat. Your front knee is still driving out. First option, your hands can just set onto your hips. You'll stop in like a halfway fold. Second option, the hands might make it to your mat. You've got a few breaths here. You're probably feeling a lot of funny stuff going on in your legs. That's okay. The legs don't usually find themselves in this position. So take another 3 breaths. Press again into the outer edges of both of your feet. Last one. Then inhale, halfway lift, long spine. Exhale, hands up onto your hips. Inhale, lift all the way up to standing. Now straighten your front leg again. This time turn your front toes in. So you're in a straddle facing the left side of your mat. Your feet are about a leg's length apart. So if you're really tall, your feet are pretty wide. The outer edges of your feet are pushing out into the mat once again. Inhale, arms reach up, look up. Exhale, fold, hinging at the hips. First option, hands to your thighs or your hips. Second option, hands to your shins. Final option, hands might make it to the mat. Again, remember, those options are there for a reason. So some of you are going to need to modify some postures and maybe take harder options in other postures. Again, it's all just about figuring out what your body's going to give you tonight, what it's going to allow you to take. Take one more deep breath here. Inhale, halfway lift your chest. Exhale, bring the hands up onto your hips. Inhale, all the way up to standing, lift your chest. Come to the top of your mat. Turn the right toes forwards. Step the left foot up to meet your right. Arms by your sides. Surya Namaskara A. Inhale, arms reach up, look up. Exhale, fold, hinging at the hips, hands towards the mat. Inhale, flat back, lengthen. Back to plank. Plant the palms, step or jump the feet back. First option, skip the vinyasa and just go straight back into down dog. Second option, if you want the vinyasa. First option, knees are down. Second option, knees are lifted. Chaturanga, exhale. Inhale, cobra or upward facing dog. Downward facing dog, exhale. So everybody meets in down dog. Before we go to the other side, if down dog ever becomes a bit too much, you can always modify with child's pose, or even better, a puppy dog pose, which would be your hips down, or your knees down. Hips can still be over the knees, and you can just walk the hands forwards. You can use this as a modification if down dog becomes a bit too much at any point. So setting up the other side now. Warrior one, your right heel spins into 45 degrees. Left foot steps forwards between the hands. And both arms reach up overhead. So again, find your back foot first. That's the more important foot. You're pressing into the outer edge of it. The quad is active to support the knee. The hips start to turn forwards. With your upper body here as well, when the arms are up overhead, you want your palms facing in towards one another. If the palm starts to turn out, your shoulder will start to roll forwards, which isn't a great place. It closes off your chest. Turning the palms in lets the shoulder roll back, and now your chest is much more open. Take one more breath where you are. Then setting up humble warrior. Take your hands behind you, interlace your fingers. Inhale, reach back through the knuckles, lift your chest, find the opening. Then fold. Keep the opening of the chest. You're just closing at your hips as you come forwards. Again, eventually, the knuckles might start to lift up. So this is all of your folds. Think about more of a forwards fold rather than a downwards fold. You want momentum moving forwards, which will close the body off, keeping the length. Take one or two more here. Drive into the outer edges of your feet. Last one. Back to the top. Inhale, lift up through the knuckles, then release the bind arms overhead. Exhale, release hands onto your hips. Straighten the front leg. Turn the hips to the right side of your mat. Adjust your feet for warrior two. So again, back toes might need to turn a bit more towards the right side. Your front foot might need to heel in a little bit. You might need to lengthen your stance a bit as well. From there, front knee bends. Again, not letting it bend and drop in, but bending it and sending it out. Then, arms reaching forwards and back, warrior two. Long spine. Take one more here. And inhale, arms reach up, look up, setting up your fold. Exhale, hinge at the hips. Legs stay as they are. Hands, first option, can stop on your hips or thighs. Second option, they might make it all the way down to your mat. Long breaths wherever you are, pressing into the outer edges of your feet. Tendency here will be that this left hip shoots back. See if you can bring your right hip back so that your hips are more balanced and in line with one another. Even though your legs are doing different things, see if you can balance your hips. Take just one more. Then inhale, flat back, lift the chest. Exhale, hands to the hips. Inhale all the way up to standing. Front leg is straight. Front toes turn in. Again, adjust your feet if you need to. Feet about a leg's length apart. This might be a little bit different to what you had in Warrior Two, so you might need to change your stance. This time, take your hands behind you, interlace the fingers. Another chest opener here, making sure that the chest is really open tonight. Inhale, reach back through the knuckles, lift the chest. Exhale, fold. Again, as you fold, the shoulders don't drop in, they stay back. Just hinge at the hips. Once you can't fold anymore, the knuckles pull away from your back. Long breaths. So you're pressing into the outer edges of your feet again, gripping with your toes. Keeping some engagement in your quads here, making sure the quads are working, helping to keep the legs straight. Take one more breath. Then pulling through the knuckles, inhale, halfway lift up. Exhale, release the bind, hands to your hips. Inhale all the way up to standing, turning to the top of your mat. Turn the left toes forwards and the right foot steps up to meet the left. Arms by your sides. Surya Namaskara A. Inhale, arms reach up, look up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, plant the palms, down dog or a vinyasa. Step or jump the feet back. Modify where needed. If you're taking the vinyasa, exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, cobra or upward facing dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. Child's pose. Let the knees come down, the hips set back, and the upper body relaxes. 3 to 5 breaths. Just finding that consistency in your breathing again, that same rhythm that you had right at the start. And when you are ready, find downward facing dog. Take your time if you need a few more breaths. You're welcome to stay in child's pose as well. If you ever need a break at any point, just take child's pose and then join back in whenever you're ready. Coming to the top of your mat. Look forwards. Inhale, step or jump the feet between your hands. Lift the chest halfway up. Exhale, fold. Coming all the way up to standing with a flat back. Inhale, lift the chest. Continuing up, lift the arms, lift your gaze. Exhale, arms by your sides. So we're coming into a balance here, a couple of balances. And if you know that you really struggle with balancing, first of all, a good tip is to not be on a spongy surface. You want to be on a surface that's a bit more solid. So if you have a pretty solid mat, like the mat that I've got is pretty sturdy, and I'm on laminate flooring, so I'm going to be okay here. But if you're on a thicker carpet, or if you've got a really spongy mat, I guess you can't really do much about carpet, but if you are on like a thicker mat, then go ahead and just take a step off of it so that you're on a more solid surface here. And if you know that you still do struggle quite a bit with your balancing, then just grab like a chair, pull a chair over or something, or have a wall next to you, something that you can use to kind of put your hand on to help you with this next little sequence. That's absolutely fine to use a little prop. So from here, we're going to be balancing on the right leg first. So shift the weight over into your right foot and start to bring your left knee up towards you. Now, some of you are going to stop right here with the toes on the mat. If you do have a prop next to you, use that. Put your right hand on it so that you can bring your knee up. Some of you will be able to bring the knee up without assistance here, which is perfect. So from here, first option, hands underneath your thigh. Second option, hands around your shin. Don't really mind where that bind is, whether it's under the thigh or around the shin, but you would like to have a bind here. Even if it's just with one hand, if your right hand is on a prop, that's fine as well. So, chest is lifted, shoulders are back. I know you can't really see my shoulders at the moment, but the shoulders are pinned back. My hips are right underneath my body to start here. We're gonna take a slight back bend. So keep lifting up through the chest, keep pulling this knee in towards you. Start to reach back through the back of your shoulders here. Your upper back is leaning towards the back mat. Your hips are gonna start coming forwards a little bit, getting a little bit of opening. Now this bent knee, this knee that's up towards you, it's also pushing back into your hands, kind of moving forwards so that you're countering this backwards momentum through the upper body. Only go as far as you can. Take maybe another breath or two. Last one. And then come back up to standing. And then release. Set that left foot back down onto the mat. So we're gonna go right back into that same side for a second balance here. Again, some of you might need your right hand on a prop or a stability prop of some sort here. What you're gonna do this time, instead of bending the knee up towards you, you're gonna bend your left knee and bring the heel behind you. So you're squeezing your hamstring, engaging your hamstring to close off the back of that leg. Now, take your left hand, turn your left palm forwards first and then out to the side, and then reach back and take a hold of the inside of the left leg. If the inside of the leg is not available, grab the outside of it just with your normal bind. That's fine as well. From here, first option, stay exactly where you are, work on your balance. Second option, right hand is gonna reach up towards the ceiling. Maybe you stay, maybe you start to kick back a little bit. The upper body hasn't really gone anywhere, but the knee and the foot have started to move away from the front of the body. Maybe you start to go a little bit further, hinging the upper body forwards. This is moving towards dancer pose. We might not get all the way there, but it's inching towards it. So again, either you're staying right here with your hand on a prop, you're moving, kicking through that back heel, and or you're hinging forwards. Take one or two more deep breaths. Kick through that back leg. Take one more. And then release. Lift the chest up if you hinged, release the bind. Left foot to the mat, arms by your sides. Well done. Great thing about yoga is you have two sides, so you get to do it again on the other side. Here we go. So your chest is lifting up, you've got good posture, you're shifting the weight into the left leg. If you have a prop, move it to the other side of your mat. If you're using a wall, just turn around so the wall is on the opposite side. From here, shift the weight into the left leg, start to bring your right knee up towards you. Again, same options. You can keep the toes on the mat to help with your balance. You can, first option for your bind, take the hands underneath your thigh. Second option for your bind, hands around your shin. First, find the engagement of your back. The muscles in your back are really strong, helping to support this good posture. Take one more here, still just standing upright. And then start to go into a back bend. So your hips start to go forwards a bit. The chest is lifting up and then going back. So it's not just collapsing back the way, it's lengthening and then reaching. Take another few breaths here. Pay attention to the left sole of the foot. That's the foot that's on the mat. That foot is going to tell you if your weight is shifting in a direction that you cannot recover from. So notice the small little twitches that happen in your ankle. Those twitches are helping to keep your balance. Take one more. Coming back to the top. Inhale, lift up through the chest. Release the bind, set the right foot onto the mat. Taking a little rest for that left leg. You're almost there, don't worry. Coming into the other side, or excuse me, to the next posture on that same side. Shift the weight back into your left leg. Start to bend your right knee so that the foot comes up behind you here. So again, this right hand, palm is going to turn forwards first and then continue turning so it's facing out away from you. Reach back, see if you can grab the inside of the ankle. If not, just that other bind on the outside of the ankle is fine. First option, stay. Working on your balance. Maybe just seeing if you can kind of take your hand off of your prop if you're using a prop. Next option, left arm reaches straight up. Then maybe you just start to kick back through this back heel. Maybe you start to hinge a little bit. All of these are really slow movements. This is a challenging posture, which is why I'm not asking you to go right into that full position. I'm just saying, look, these are your steps towards getting there. So see if you can master one. Then maybe you master the next, then maybe you master the next. And all three might not happen tonight. One more wherever you're at. Inhale, lift your chest up if you hinge forwards. Release your bind, arms by your sides. Whew, well done. Surya Namaskara A, Sun Salutation A. Inhale, arms reach up, look up. Exhale, fold, hinging, hands towards the mat. Inhale, flat back, lift your chest. Vinyasa. Exhale, plant the palms, step or jump the feet back. First option, knees down. Second option, knees up. Chaturanga. Exhale, bend the elbows. Inhale, cobra or upward facing dog. Really strong legs wherever you are. Exhale, downward facing dog. Send the hips back. Inhale, right foot steps forwards between your hands. Drop the back knee down and then reach the arms up overhead. So you're in a low lunge here. Keep those back toes tucked under though. That's going to help with your support and with your balance. Now we're coming into a twist. Now your first twist right at the start of the class had the left hand down and the right arm up. That's not quite where we're going. Similar, but not quite. For this one, start to reach your right arm back and left arm forwards, right? So you're turning again your chest towards the right leg. Your gaze might be able to go back over your right hand. The palms are facing out over the right side of your mat. Take one more here, lifting up and reaching through the fingers. First option, stay where you are. Second option, a little bit of a back bend, a little bit of extension. If you're going back, your right hand can set down, maybe it just comes onto your thigh or maybe onto your lower back. If you've got a bit more space, you can bring it back onto your right heel. Left arm lifts up and then reaches back overhead. 2 or 3 more breaths. Front knee is still forwards. Take one more. Back up to the top. Inhale, lift up through the left arm, both arms overhead, downward facing dog. Exhale, hands to the mat, lift the back knee, step the right foot back. Take a couple breaths, just settling in down dog. If you really need a vinyasa, you can take it here, but you might not need one. When you're ready, we're setting up the other side. Inhale, the left foot steps forwards between the hands. Set your right knee down onto the mat and then bring the arms up overhead into a low lunge. Again, back toes stay tucked under. It will help. So the first twist is quite an engagement for your belly. So you want to, or the whole middle section of your body really. So you want to make sure that's ready for you. Inhale, lift up, then exhale, twist. Contract the belly as you turn. So your right fingers are going forwards this time. Left fingers are reaching back. A few deep breaths here. So what you'll see here is that as you've twisted, your chest is now facing over the left side of your mat while the hips are still turning forwards. You want to keep that as you transition here. First option, stay. Second option, your back hand is going to come down. Again, maybe just onto your lower back, maybe onto your thigh. Maybe it can reach towards that back heel. Chest is still turning towards the left side. Lift up and over through the right shoulder. Front knee is forwards. Take 1 or 2 more. Squeeze your butt. Engage your glutes to help support a little further. When you've had enough, back to the top. Inhale, lift up through the right arm. Both arms up overhead. Downward facing dog. Exhale, hands down. Left foot steps back. So we're going to move through our final vinyasa here. Last one. Inhale, forwards to plank. Modify where needed. Exhale, chaturanga. Squeeze the elbows to your sides. Move the chest forwards a bit. Inhale, cobra or upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Preparing to come all the way through into a seat. Look forwards. Inhale, step or jump up and through. Have a seat on the mat. Bringing the legs straight out in front of you. Go ahead, bend your knees actually. Bend your knees and drop the knees out to the side. So we're coming into this is going to be your first fold. Soles of the feet are together. As I mentioned right at the start, if you need a prop, grab it. You might need something to sit on here. If sitting on the floor causes you to collapse automatically into your lower back, sit on something so your hips are elevated. You'll have a bit more space. Hands can grab a hold of your shins, your feet, whatever's available. Inhale, lift the chest. Keep all of this length that you've just created and fold. Exhale, you're just breaking at your hips as you come forwards. Now bear in mind as well, you might not move very far. You might only kind of hinge an inch, maybe even less, maybe only a centimeter. That's okay. All of it's okay. It doesn't matter if you hinge an inch or a foot. Whatever you've got, work with it. Deep breaths. Inhales, continuing the length. Exhales, fold. 3 more. Last one here. And then back up to the top. Lift your chest. Then draw the knees up towards you. Kick your right leg forwards here, and then just, kick your right leg forwards here, and then drop your left knee out to the side. So the left knee is dropped back out. Your left foot is now pressing into your right inner leg. That's an active connection. Foot pushes to the thigh, thigh pushes back to the foot. Again, inhale, lift up, reach forwards. Exhale, fold. Again, not breaking in your spine, breaking at the hip crease. Hands, once you can't fold anymore, just relax your shoulders and grab something on this right leg. Inhales, open. Exhales, close. Just 2 or 3 more here. And then inhale, come back up to the top. Now, keeping your right leg straight, you're gonna move it out to the side about 45 degrees or so. Just take it out wide off the right side of your mat, however far it will be happy to go. You can then release this left ankle, so you're now on the top of your foot. Rather than leaving the ankle flexed, just point the toe instead. You're folding forwards once again, keeping that right leg out to the side. Inhale, lift up, reach. Exhale, fold. Hands can come to the mat in front of you this time. Maybe just walking forwards here. So you would like your hips to stay grounded behind you. Chances are is that your left hip will ground quite easily, but your right hip is going to try to roll up. Pin that right hip back again as your chest is moving forwards. So there's not only forwards momentum, but backwards momentum as well. Take 1 more. And then release, come back up to the top. Bring that right leg back forwards once again. Bring your left knee up towards you, so the foot is now grounded on the mat, just inside of the thigh. Twist. First option, right arm around your left leg. Second option, the tricep goes over the knee to the outside of the thigh. Make sure your left leg stays strong. It doesn't want to collapse in when you start to press into it with your right arm. You want it to stay pointing up and stay strong. Left hand onto the mat behind you. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, twist. Just 3 breaths. Again, inhales lifting, exhales turning. 1 more here. Release back to the center. Let your left leg go straight. So we're coming into a fold here. Now, as we fold with the legs straight, I want you to notice if there's a difference between the 2 sides of the body. Inhale, lift up, reach forwards. Exhale, fold, hinge at the hips, hands towards your legs somewhere. So what you'll probably feel is that your right leg, the back of your right leg feels a little bit more open, a little bit more forgiving, and the back of the left leg might feel a bit more resistant. Not necessarily because it's tight, but just because you've opened up the other leg a whole lot more. Take 2 more here. I said 2 and held up 3 fingers. I meant 2. 1 more deep breath. And then release. Come back up to the top. So we're just going to do all of that on the other side now. So bend your right knee up towards you. Drop the right knee out to the side. So your right foot is now pressing into your left inner leg. The left leg is strong. Engage your quad. Kick through the heel. And then leg pushes back into the foot. Inhale, lift up, reach forwards. Exhale, fold, hands towards the leg somewhere. Chest moving towards the toes, not necessarily forehead to shin, because that makes it a downwards fold, but we want it to be a forwards fold, leading towards the front of your mat. Take 1 more here. And then release, come back up to the top. The straight leg, left leg, is going to move out to the side about 45 degrees or so, maybe a little further, maybe not so far. You can release the top of your right foot onto the mat in front of you. And then coming into a fold. Inhale, reaching forwards. Exhale, hinging at the hips, hands towards the mat. Again, as you come in, to help with this left leg staying grounded, this left hip staying grounded, rather than letting it come forwards, you think about the top of your thigh rolling back the way, and that'll help to bring the hip down onto the mat again. Maybe 2 or 3 more here. And then release. Come back up to the top. Bring the left leg back in, so the straight leg comes forwards again. Draw the right knee up towards you. That right foot is grounded on the mat. Twist. First option, left arm around the right leg. Second option, tricep over the knee to the outside of it. Again, bent leg is strong so it stays pointing straight up. Right hand behind you. Inhale, lengthen upwards. Exhale, twist. Just 2 or 3 more on this side. If you need another breath there, go ahead, take it. When you're ready, come back around to the center and release the right leg straight again. So we're gonna come into one more fold, and it's the same fold with both legs straight. So what you might find is that either maybe your left leg feels a little bit more open now. Hopefully they've evened out. So kick through the heels, inhale, lift the chest, reach forwards. Exhale, fold, hinge at the hips, hands towards the legs somewhere. Thinking about closing the space from your lower belly to your upper thigh, closing that first, and then closing the middle thigh to the middle belly, closing that next. Then maybe the upper belly to the knees. Maybe you continue forwards, but you want to go from the crease first, and then eventually work your way through the legs. Take just one more deep breath. And then release, come all the way back up to the top. Bend both knees, draw them into your chest. If you are dying to take one final vinyasa, go ahead and move yourself through it, taking a chaturanga, up dog, down dog, just rolling forwards over your knees. If you're skipping it like I am, you're just coming down onto your back. So draw the knees into your chest and roll back and down. Once you're down here, or if you took the vinyasa, when you're ready, once you've had down dog for a breath, just step or jump all the way through. And then come down onto your back to meet the rest. And then everybody release your knees, setting the feet down. Feet just about hips width apart. You're preparing bridge pose here. Your heels just out of reach of your fingertips. You want them pretty close. And then your heels are a little bit wider than your toes, making sure you're slightly pigeon-toed. Now press down into the soles of the feet, press down into your palms next to you. Inhale, lift your hips towards the ceiling. So your hips are lifting up, the butt is squeezed, tucking your pelvis up towards the ceiling, so the lower back is supported throughout this. Then walk your shoulder blades together underneath you here. Chest opens a bit further. Take another few breaths. First option, just keep pressing down into the hands. Second option, interlace the fingers underneath you, reaching the knuckles towards your heels. So think about your legs for a few breaths here. Your toes want to be gripping the mat, all 10 toes. The heels are grounded. You're not rolling into the outer edges of your feet. You're grounding solidly through the entire foot. Your knees are pointing forwards, and then you're using the power of your legs, not necessarily to get higher in the hips, but to get further back in the chest. Take another 2 or 3 breaths. And when you've had enough, release the bind if you took it. Separate your shoulder blades so the upper back grounds first. And then you're rolling down one vertebrae at a time. So your middle back is going to come down next. Pelvis is still tucking up. And your lower back rolls down last. Take a breath. Let that settle into the mat for a moment. And then draw your right knee into your chest. You can wrap the arms around the right leg, either again under the thigh or over the shin. And then release the left leg long to the mat. Your back body is still grounding. Everything between the hips and the shoulders is still grounded into the mat. And then draw the left knee back up towards you. Wrap the arms around the left leg and release the right leg long. And then that left knee can come back up towards you. Take a second just drawing both knees into your chest. And then release the bind of the knees, set the feet onto the mat, You're coming into reclining pigeon pose here. So take your right ankle and set your right ankle on top of your left thigh. So you've created like a figure 4 in your legs here. If that left leg was straight, it would look like an upside down 4. So you're flexing your right ankle a little bit. First option, stay right here. You can push your right hand into your right knee so that the knee moves forwards towards the front of your mat. You'll feel a little bit of movement in your right hip. Second option is to take a bind. If you're binding, then your legs are going to come towards you. You're going to reach forwards to the upper body, hands coming underneath your left thigh, right? So the right leg is on top of the left and you're grabbing under the left. And then just relax the upper body, let everything drop back again. So wherever you are, that right knee is moving towards the front of your mat. The shoulders are dropping down. The neck is relaxed. Last one here. And then just release your bind. Set the feet down onto the mat so the right leg is released. And then straight into the other side. Take the left ankle on top of your right thigh. Again, flex the left ankle. You can stay here pushing your left knee forwards, or bring the legs towards you, hands come underneath your right thigh, and then relax the upper body back again. Now, even though you're bringing the legs towards you, you don't want your hips to roll up with the legs. Let your hips roll flat to the mat, lower back grounds as you bring the knees in. So that movement, again, is happening in the hips, not in your spine. Just 2 more deep breaths into that left hip. And then release. Set the feet onto the mat. Coming into your twists. Your hips are going to shift to the right side of your mat. You want to shift the hips over a good distance, maybe about 6 to 12 inches to the side. Your shoulders are going to stay at the center of the mat. You want your hips off at a kind of a funky angle here. Now, first option, keep the knees together. Second option, for a deeper twist, your right thigh is going to cross on top of your left thigh. Wherever you are with the legs, draw the knees into your chest and then drop the knees across to the left. So your hips went to the right, the knees have gone to the left. Once the knees have dropped out to the left, your gaze then goes over your right shoulder, letting the right shoulder drop back down towards the mat. So you're still using intentional breathing here. The inhales are creating a bit more distance between this top right hip and your right shoulder. The exhales are allowing a bit more rotation at the center of your spine. So the spine, the area of your spine, like just underneath your rib cage, let the twist really take shape there. Take another 2 or 3. And when you're ready, come back to the center. Unwind the legs if you took the bind. Hips to the middle, knees to the chest. Other side. Release the knees, feet set down. Hips move to the left side of your mat. Again, shift them over a good bit. First option, knees together. Second option, left thigh on top of your right. Take the same leg variation from that first side. Knees into your chest, knees to the right side of the mat. And then the gaze over your left shoulder. When you're ready, start to come back to the center. Drawing the knees to your chest, And then preparing yourself for Shavasana. So if you have props, go ahead, grab those. If you need pillows or blankets, or if you've got a particular song that you would like on for your Shavasana, go ahead, start to set those things up. If you've got a favorite shape for your body, you're welcome to find it. Otherwise, you can just release the legs, letting them go long to the mat. Release the arms by your sides, the palms facing upwards. Close your eyes. Shavasana. Release the fingers and the toes. Release the ankles and wrists. The knees and elbows. Let the hips sink down into the mat as the legs flop open away from one another. The shoulders melt down as your breath returns to normal. Your lips may slightly part as you release your jaw, letting the tongue come away from the roof of your mouth. Softening the space between the eyebrows. Softening the space behind the ears. Listening to the sounds around you. Letting them wash over your body, creating stillness. Watching as your thoughts come in and out through your mind. Letting them finish, letting them pass, without creating any attachments to them. Finding the space that exists inside your mind. And finding some peace. Slowly beginning to deepen your breath. Beginning to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Circling the ankles and wrists. Rocking the head from side to side. Inhale to reach the arms overhead, reaching long through the fingers and through the toes. Exhale, draw the knees into the belly, wrap the arms around them, giving yourself one last big hug, rocking from side to side. Eventually winding up on your right hand side, using your right bicep as a pillow. Remaining in Shavasana with your eyes closed. And when you're ready, press into your left palm, coming up to any comfortable seated position. Palms may press together at chest center if you choose. May you take only what is offered. Take only what you need and always give more than you take. Stay safe, stay kind, and stay patient. Thank you. Namaste.